Greetings. Thought I'd make yet another video talking about spiritual awakening and what exactly is it, because so many of you that I talk to are going through an awakening in all sorts of ways. There is a commonality to all of this. For example, you'll probably be the black sheep of the family. When you go through this awakening, whatever form it takes, it can come out to feel very real physically. Personally, I thought I was having a heart attack, and I can assure you that that saying about your life flashes across before your eyes is very real. My first thoughts were, oh dear, that's it, I'm going to be on the scrap heap, can never work again. But every test comes up, nothing's wrong. And I'm sure a lot of you will find this. You will have physical symptoms of pains. Sleepless nights is another big one. You start seeing things in a different way. Now, I've been asked, where do I get the information from that I get? I don't really read books well, I'd say I don't read books at all these days. I will talk with other people. That is what has inspired this video, by the way. It is by talking to each other. We have got the answers inside. Part of this awakening process is discovering yourself, who you are, what triggers you. You come to a realization that all the experiences that you go through, as they say, hindsight is a wonderful thing, and it is, because you can make sense of things, why you went through a particular, what seemed to be a bad experience, which is then empowers you to be benevolent with that experience. You can empathize with other people. That's just one example of this. It's like in the three-dimensional world. We've all got different strengths and weaknesses. Weaknesses are not what they appear to be. Like everything else, a weakness is actually a strength. The thing to realise is when that is being exploited by someone who's what we call an energy vampire, someone who just like drains you and leaves you feeling exhausted. They're feeding on your energy. So part of it is also recognising who your true soul family is. This is the whole thing. This is multi-dimensional. You've got the 3D aspect to it in your daily lives, where you'll probably find that your thinking is completely different from everybody else around you. While they're worrying about paying for their next holiday to the Caribbean or to Spain or wherever it happens to be, you're sort of going within yourself, you're decluttering your life, getting rid of things that you might have a huge great bookshelf and you think, well, I don't need these books anymore, they don't serve any purpose, so I'll get rid of them. This decluttering is not just in the physical, it's in the mind as well. It certainly keeps the channels easier to communicate, whether you want to call it higher consciousness or God or whatever you want to call it. The names are just labels anyway. That is irrelevant. It's the devil. The saying, the devil is in the detail. And if you look at everything that we're given as what they call education, I mean, really, do I need to know something is so many 100 feet away, or it travels at this speed, and whatever it happens to be? That's irrelevant, really. All I want to know is the thing is over there, or you know. I don't need all these little details. What am I going to do with it? Sort of, will I know something you don't? Is it sort of ego? Well, I mean, that's completely the wrong route. That's not the way to go down at all. It's going into darkness as well. Part of this awakening, you might go through some very, shall we say, dark phases in your life, where you don't feel right at all. anxiety and depression is a big one as well. You can get where you mentally make a block where you can't go out the front door. That's what happened to me. I couldn't face seeing anybody. Your logical, conscious side of your mind says this is stupid, there's nothing wrong, but there's another part of the brain that kicks in and won't allow you to do these things, and it's all part of a process of, it's a clearing out before to let new come into you, as it were, and it's all about finding yourself, very much. As usual, I've got no script. I'm just doing this, shall we say, off the top of my head, the crown chakra, for example. Now, one of the questions that, as well as this, with this going through this awakening, this sense of not belonging is another big one. The number of people I've spoken to, and I've seen comments, I don't feel like I belong here, this doesn't feel like home, and so on. Well, I'm going to suggest here, you've got 4 blood groups. You've got A, B, AB and O. So leaving aside AB at the moment, because that seems to be the fusion of A and B anyway, I'm going to suggest this: Sirius A, Sirius B and Orion's belt. There's your A, B and O. It's like the ABO blood system. I mean, I have jokingly said, you want to know where we come from, if that's a serious question, I'm going to give you a serious answer. Off the top of my head again, David Icke spoke of the Dogon tribe in northwest Africa, and they have an oral tradition that they were told by this deity to move away from Egypt, otherwise they'd all perish in a flood. Sirius B cannot be seen with the naked eye, and yet they knew of this star, and it's sort of baffled scientists. Well, how can they know about something that you can't see? But this oral tradition has been passed down from generation to generation, and their story to them is accurate, and all their dancing and things seems to suggest that is the case. Now, I'm not saying physically we've come from there, because this is multidimensional. It's your soul. The heart has a brain that contains all the memories of your previous lives as well. It doesn't distinguish between good and bad, it just holds those memories. This is why you have a thing called soul recognition when you, like happened to me the other day, in a video call, and it's instant mutual recognition. It's like, my God, you look like a female version of me, and she said, you look like a male version of me. I said, well, at least you haven't got the beard. Even the hair, the wavy sort of ends to the hair is the same. It's like, next time they do one of these, what do you look like as the opposite sex, I suggested we just put each other's profile pics up. It's that uncanny. And it's a wonderful, that's a wonderful experience in itself, finding soul family, because you might be sort of the outcast of your three-dimensional flesh and blood family, but we are far more than flesh and blood. We are body, we are mind, and we are also soul. We are a 3-in-1, and in this three-dimensional world, we are sort of told that basically when you're dead, that's it, depending on what you believe in. But this goes beyond believing. This is, it's a gut feeling, a God feeling. Gut, Gott. It comes from the German word for God, Gott. The gut feeling, trust in that. Your gut feeling tells you something, then that's right. That should be your main guide in everything. And that cliche saying, don't believe me, do your own research. Well, yes, go within yourself. Trust in yourself first. Know yourself more than you've ever known yourself before. That is the best advice I can say to all of you, because that will steer you right. You all have this, I'm going to use it, I'm going to talk it in the religious context. The seed of God, we're going to call it, right? We are all seeds. You all have this ability to create within inside yourself. It's not a case of we're trying to get to a higher dimension. We're not physically trying to get anywhere. But what we're actually doing, because we are energy and we are like magnets, we are trying to draw it here. When you hear on the spiritual side with healers talking about raising the vibrational level, that's because we are already gods and goddesses. We are already here. We just have to bring it to us. We have that ability within inside us. Humans have this wonderful power, this untapped power that most people just are totally unaware of. The best example I can give you of this, talking in a very three-dimensional way, is when you wake up from sleep and you might have had a bad dream, you've been running and your heart is really pounding. That's if you dream. I don't actually dream at all. I go off somewhere and sleep, but I've got absolutely no recollection. I don't worry about it or question it. I just accept that's what it is, and the fact that I can't remember or have any recollection of even dreaming, I would say, is for my own protection. There's things going on in other realms that these 3D brains would, well, I think they just explode. It's like the Indiana Jones film where you've got these alien sort of reptile-like creatures sitting in a circle, and the woman says at the end of the film, I want to know it all. And they do give all the information. It's too much too quick. Knowledge is food for thought. And it's like any meal, you have to digest it slowly. This is why this awakening process, now I would say it did start in 2012 at the end of the Aztec calendar, or sorry, the Mayan calendar. There was a big sort of panic at the time, same as previously when it got to the year 2000 and the computers all reset to zero. Is it going to be the end of the world? Same prediction was made for 2012. Look, we're still here. That's just speculation on things. I mean, think of the word apocalypse. Most people will think of it in terms of fireballs and earthquakes and lightning bolts, but all it really means is an epoch collapse, an apocalypse. If you break it down, it's actually two words. It's a collapse of an epoch, end of an era, end of a time. So therefore, if there's an end of the time, it means new beginnings as well. It's how you look at these things. If you want to empower it and think of it as something negative, then that's what it'll be. If you want to look at it from a positive angle, then that's what it'll be. See, this is not just with words. Words have two meanings. Now and same with numbers. I'm sure all of you all know about how the number 6 and the number 5 are associated with darkness and evil. Well, they're also associated, and it's equally true that they can be associated with the side of good as well. Likewise, the use of mirrors. If you understand how words work and how they have mirror meanings to them, and once you start seeing things in reflection, as it were, I'm talking metaphorically, not actually physically, although it can work physically as well. If you take the word Mickey from Mickey Mouse in that sort of trademark signature style, you put a mirror to that, you get the word wicked. And there are children that go missing in Disneyland every year. Need I say more? Not dwelling on the dark side. Yes, it is very real, and yes, these things do happen, and it can happen to any one of us. But are we to live in fear of that? Because fear is what holds us back. I mean, bloody hell, there's 7.5 billion of us on this planet. You don't even need all 7.5 billion to wake up. You just need enough of us collectively with the energy. We can manifest things here. We can make things happen. The things that we've got to remember is it's got to be done in a benevolent way, not in a malevolent way, and not self-serving. It has to be done for the good of all. And I'm not just talking about humanity, I'm talking about the good of life in general. The trees, the insects, birds, all life on this planet. It could be said that this is a imperfect copy of Earth, and that is probably why everything goes through a cycle of birth, life, death, and then maybe comes back in another form, not necessarily back as a human. You might come back as a tree. But we're carbon-based life, so are we carbon copies? You know? But if this is the devil's playground, all it needs is a change of ownership, because darkness doesn't have the ability to create. This is why this evil hates women so much, because women bring new life into the world. The man might just, he's there to plant the seed, which has the code that decides what sex it's going to be, colour, eyes, height, and all the physical attributes. But it's the female, the water carrier, who brings the new life into the world. Now, this is what the dark side do not have the ability to do. They can only manipulate and twist an existing idea or thought or concept. And that is how they work. So you will find in everything, doesn't matter what religion it is, there is always a foundation of truth. The trick to this is to be able to see which is the truthful parts and which are the lies. Now, some of you could be skeptical and say, oh, you just cherry pick the bits you want. No, because it's like every aspect with awakening. You don't just do it once and stop there and think, hey, I've cracked it, I'm now this awakened being. You've got to keep going back within yourself every day, and you keep re-examining yourself. Like when people talk about from the truth-seeking side, they're doing research. They are researching. So you need to go back and rediscover yourself. It's an ongoing process. The same as you eat, and then a while later you'll feel hungry again, so you have a bit more. Well, this is the same with knowledge as well. I'm not saying retain the knowledge. All you need is an understanding of the workings of these things. You don't even need to retain the details. If anything, I find what happens is keep the mind as empty as possible, and you almost like plug into a spiritual matrix. You can access this information. When somebody asks you a question, you might not have the answer, but you can find the answer. It will just come to you. You haven't even got to look in religious texts. You'll find this happens more and more. You'll get it, a line in a song or words in a book, a sentence in a book might just suddenly leap out at you, and it's as if, wow, that was written, it feels like that's written for you specifically, that message that's contained there, and it's often confirmation. You've got the number sequences. I know a lot of you will see 444, 222, 111, and all these different combinations of numbers, 22, 55, and so on. And you can go on Google and put an ancient number and whatever the number is, and you can find the meaning, and it's confirmation. 3 4s I've had the last 2 days, and and it's like, hey, this is wonderful. I know that I've looked that one up, and it says you are bang on your spiritual path where you need to be, which is brilliant. So I don't go any sort of deeper into it than that. It's just having an understanding. It's like, oh, there's those numbers again, and I'm sure if I look them up, I'm going to find it's going to be relevant, and sure enough it is. But yeah, you can empower things whichever way you want. Words, numbers, even colours as well. This is one of the things I'm finding I'm getting. I don't see auras. What I'm actually seeing is the human outline, and then I'm seeing colours in various shades of brightness, which correspond with the chakra colours. So if I see someone and they've got a mostly green aspect to them, and the light will come from the heart area, that is telling me that they are someone who cares about Earth, and they're loving, they're compassionate. Someone who's got the more lilacs and purples, they're more in the heavenly realms of the third eye and the crown, so they're going to be more on the mystic level. And this is where we have all these different skills, even in these spiritual dimensions. You'll have people who are more on the, shall we say, the magical, the alchemy side. You'll have those that are more practical with the in nature side of things, and you'll get people who are sort of jack of all trades. It's just like in 3D. You'll get people who can good at doing financial management, for example, or you get somebody else who's good at painting, different creative things, writing, all sorts. We're all different in that way. So this is multi-dimensional. It doesn't just cut off and it's 3-dimensional and then there's everything else. Whilst there is no actual thing called time, it's all in the present. We are a presence in the present. Everything that's been is now gone, and everything that's still to come hasn't got here yet. Now that concept doesn't exist in these other dimensions. I know from personal experience of this. I have witnessed it for myself. I have retained the memory of it as well, which is fantastic. is I can help explain it to other people. It's what I call the void. It is completely black, but it's not the black in the sense that we know. You can still see, but if you look at all the way everything points, if you're religious and you pray, you close your eyes. If you're spiritual, you go within, you meditate and you shut yourself off from everything. You close your eyes. You don't see all these distractions, furniture, wall colouring. It doesn't matter what even the most insignificant little things that are around you, what you happen to be sitting on at the time, that all vanishes, because that is all distraction. And then that's when things will start to come. It's like everything though. You have to keep practicing at these things. I mean, you think about this. You don't any longer have to think about telling your legs and giving your body instructions on how to stand up. You just if you want to stand up, you stand up without even thinking about it. You unconsciously just do this. Well, this is exactly the same with anything spiritual. The more you do it, the more you practice, the better and stronger it becomes. And it's a wonderful experience. This is the experience of true wealth. When you find other soul family, when you that recognition of another soul, and it's like, oh, my brother, my sister. It especially the position I'm in. I have no siblings, so that's a brilliant experience. I've now got all these brothers and sisters I never had before. Well, I did, but I just didn't know of them. So yeah, so what I've been talking for 20 odd minutes. So I think we'll cut off there, because that's plenty of information, and these things take a while to load up. So I wish you all a good day, and I will be making another video again soon. So talk to you then. Bye.